You probably saw this week Joe Biden's press secretary, Karin Johnpierre, claiming that videos showing how frail and out of his mind Biden is are cheap fakes, somehow manipulated videos that lie about the true mental state of the president.
I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these the right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem because of the fact checkers have repeatedly caught them pushing misinformation, disinformation, and so we see this, and this is something coming from your part of the world, calling them cheap fakes and misinformation. I'll quote the Washington Post, where they wrote about this, and they said how Republicans use misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period.
You know that you're onto something when politicians and their cronies start talking about misinformation and disinformation. They're the new buzzwords for uncomfortable things politicians don't want you to know. And she then went on to suggest that some of these videos were deepfakes. Now, deepfakes are a very specific thing. They're videos created by artificial intelligence that appear to show someone saying or doing something that never actually happened.
Both in Normandy this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
So cheap fakes and deep fakes, videos you shouldn't trust because they're made up or manipulated. Now, for the record, this is what a real deep fake looks like.
He's suggesting it came out of nowhere. What we subsequently learned is it may have come from the former president or his legal team acting in bad faith. This is a deepfake example of what is possible with powerful computer and editing. It took around 72 hours to create this example from scratch using extremely powerful GPU. It could be improved with more computing time, but 90% of people cannot tell the difference.
That is a fake computer-generated video, and that's dangerous, there's no doubt about it. But no credible news organisation has run any deepfakes of President Biden, and nor are they running cheap fakes, supposedly manipulated real clips. By cheap fake, she means videos that are missing context or that have been edited so they don't actually resemble reality. Well, here's Joe Biden in the last week or two alone. You tell me whether you think these are quote-unquote cheap fakes or real examples of things the president has actually done.
Homeland Security Secretary, I'm not sure going to do show away.
I mean, they don't need any more context than they already have. You don't need to know what Biden said before or after to know that he stumbled over his words. You don't need to see what happened before or after to see that Georgia Maloney deliberately saved him from wandering off. Here's KJP again.
So much misinformation, disinformation, as we've been talking about. You talked about the video of the president wandering, and it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering. He was talking to a parachuter that was right in front of him. And what you saw is the Republican Party really manipulating what was being said and what was being seen by the American people. It's also very insulting to the folks the viewers who are watching it. And so we believe we have to call that out. We've been calling it cheap fakes. That is something that came directly from the media outlets and calling it that, the fact checkers and calling it that. And so we're certainly going to be really clear about that as well.
He wasn't wandering. I mean, I guess Maloney didn't go to turn him back in the right direction either. You didn't see any of it. And the context is that the bloke is an ageing chump with mashed potato for brains, and the Democrats don't want you to see that, and if you do, they want you to believe it's a cheap fake or a deep fake. By the way, here's another real deepfake video.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here. Okay, so you did not see Biden wandering around aimlessly, freezing up himself, sniffing dignitaries, falling asleep, drinking drug cocktails, and frisking serving girls? What you actually saw were cheap fakes. It's like a deep fake, but it's just the real video that we don't want people to see.
Before KJP writes in, it's not real. But on a more serious note, it's interesting to see the Democrats now buying into this idea that the reporting of the president is fake. These terms of misinformation and disinformation and claiming that real videos of the president are deepfakes and cheapfakes seems curiously close to the idea of fake news. And fake news, you'll remember, was a term popularised by Donald Trump, who regularly used it to criticise coverage of his 2016 and 2020 campaigns and, of course, his presidency. Now, some of what Trump called fake news was fake news. Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. Some of it, it has to be said, was probably legitimate but unfavourable coverage. But Democrat supporters pilloried Trump for calling out quote-unquote fake news and were adamant that it was really just news Trump didn't like.
And then in the 7 o'clock hour, they finally validated and authenticated the document, said, yes, that's Trump's tax returns. And so it was all systems go. We got a statement from them. You know, they started calling us fake news, blah, blah, blah. And then we went to here.
Fake reporting, fake news, fake books, the fake dossier, fake CNN. Chaos doesn't exist. Google search results rigged to show only fake news media. An interview from 15 months ago that made him look bad? Fudged. Spend some time in President Trump's Twitter feed or at his rallies of late, and the message is hard to miss. The polls are fake. The search results are fake. And the news, well, of course.
Fake news. Fake news.
Often when Trump says something is fake, it isn't false. He just doesn't like it. On May 9th, he posted a tweet that pulled back the curtain on this phenomena. He said, quote, 91% of the network news about me is negative. Parentheses, fake. At a press conference in June, he put it this way.
They don't cover stories the way they're supposed to be. They don't even report them in many cases if they're positive. So there's tremendous, I came up with the term fake news. It's a lot of fake news.
PolitiFact declared fake news its 2016 lie of the year and counted how many times he said it in 2017, 153 times apparently. So for all that complaining about Trump crying fake news and how it was really just news Trump didn't like, the Democrats are now doing exactly the same thing. Anything Biden doesn't like or that is detrimental to Biden is misinformation and disinformation or cheap fakes or deep fakes. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You don't get to go after Trump for calling fake news and then do exactly the same thing in exactly the same way when they're coming for you. Biden is a bumbling, demented fool. We can all see it. And if they want to call it fake, fine, call it fake. But they can never again call out Trump for invoking the term fake news because they've worked straight from his playbook.